like serious, he said.
Well, it doesn't matter, you know. Life doesn't wait until you're ready.
Yeah, he's going.
Life comes at you point blank or whatever. There was a commercial. There was a commercial years ago that said that.
I'm never ready.
You're never ready?
Yeah, never.
Never?
Yeah, never.
Okay. Good morning officially, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday. How we doing? Jen, thumbs up. Not bad. So. Quan, how you doing? Okay. You can leave it there. It's okay. All right. So, I've marked your quizzes. I'm going to hand them back to you. I'm going to hand them back to you first. First thing. All right. Where are you? Elisha? Arya, there you go. Where's Kang? There he is. Go, Yo-Ya. Jen, there you go. Juan, Bar. Arya, there you go. Victoria is not here yet. Kenny's here. Good, you came all the way over to get it? There you go. Thanks for saving me the walk. Nasra, Osmo's not here. Mike is here. All right. Yes. So, the marks were kind of not spectacular for the most part. So, we have two kind of options here. Two options. Option one, I can just review the answers with you and we can continue on. Option two, I will let you, are you listening? I'll let you write it again with your notes, or if you want to work in small groups, that's okay too. I'll let you write it again. You will hand it in to me, and I will count it as 3 extra marks on the quiz. What's that?
What's the first option again?
First option is I'll just review the answers with you, and we will continue on.
So I think the second.
Think the second one sounds better? Nope. There's only A and B in this quiz. There's no C or D. So, do you want to do it again?
Yes.
Okay. So again, here I have it. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. I will let you, again, use your notes. You can go back to the videos if you want to watch something. You can work together, whatever you want to do. I'll give you some time to do this again. You will hand it in to me, and then it will serve as an extra few points for you on your quiz. Deal? Am I not merciful? Boy, you guys are a tough sell. Go, there you go. You can work together on this, but you have to write your own page. But you can work together. It is. Yep, not correct. Because the crowns are for upper and lower, which is actually the north and the south. But here we're talking about the east and the west. The writing. Why don't you go back to the notes and have a look? Yes.
Like the video mentioned that the relationship between God is quite messy.
Yes.
And just they meant the guy mentioned that in Syrian culture, so like different God represent different aspects. That's some of the point. That's all.
Yes, but that's not what we were talking about for that question. Yes, sir. Well, I said you were writing some of the right things, but yeah, like I'm not marking it during the quiz, right? Because during the quiz you're telling me what you know. I'm not telling you. I'm not coaching you to keep saying things, right? So go back to it. Look at your notes. Look at the lecture slides. Yes. Nope. I'm offering you 3 extra points. Say again? Yeah, so it would be added on to that. Yeah. Hey.
If we done it completely, you gave 3 points.
Yes. So, Kayla, just so you know, we're just doing a little bit of a catch up on the quiz from Monday. But we did the quiz, so you're okay. So just kind of take a break and chill out for a little while, and we'll start in a bit. Okay, so just relax, or if you want to do some other work, you can do that, and then we'll start in just a little while. Okay, so you're good. Just chill out for a bit. Okay. Say again? Yeah. Sorry, Kayla. Thank you.
For the question that we gave the complete score, should we revise them?
I would summarize them really quickly. Just put the important points. Yeah.
Because I write here is a blue pen, so it's okay if I continue with the pencil.
Oh yeah.
It's fine.
Yep, absolutely. Do you need to write everything? Yeah.
Like I read questions.
Yeah. You can point form the ones that you got, like if you got marks on them, like point form what the points were, but hey, Tafadzwa. So, what we're doing, so that's a quiz. What we're doing is because quiz marks weren't great, so I'm giving people a chance to score 3 extra points. Just redo the quiz, but use your notes. And then, yeah. Yeah, redo them all, but just for these ones, just like point form very quickly what you wrote. Okay. Yes. Yes, miss.
What's the last one?
Okay, so the Egyptian writing had kind of three variants, right? You're telling me? How many variants did the Sumerian cuneiform have?
One.
Just one, right? And so yeah, so cuneiform was only in one version. The Egyptians had three. And then what was the difference in terms of how that language was written?
Oh, so like hieroglyphic is more into like is more formal, and priests usually use stuff.
What does what does each symbol in cuneiform, what does it represent? Each little symbol in the clay.
This represents the sun.
Nice. And what about Egyptian?
The symbol represents the character.
Yeah, or like an idea, right?
Yeah. So an Egyptian. So this is like his Sumerian pantheon. He's like a sheep of God, and like Sumer is the only culture that worship him,
Right.
worship this god, and even though he's like a sheep of God, but he actually a god of agriculture.
Well, no, he wasn't though, right? He had to do with sheep and herding sheep, right? Did Kenny get this one? Somebody got this
You
one.
already missed it.
Hey, Victoria. Victoria, we're. What's that? Overall, not great. So we're rewriting the quiz with our notes for an extra 3 points.
Okay.
So it's right behind you there. It's right behind you there. There you go. Okay, Felicia, you okay? You okay? All right.
With the mic, what's the deal of it?
What's the what?
What time we have to hand it back to you?
How much time?
Yeah.
I'll give you. I'll check in with you in 10 minutes and see where we are. Yeah, nice try. Nice try.
I had to try.
I know. Hey, I get it. I get it.
Can I not rewrite the answer that I got asked?
If you got them all right, just quickly point form them, okay? Just so they're there. No, okay.
Up to here.
No, a little bit further.
It has 4 Vedas. Should we write all of them?
Yeah, but keep in mind we want to know what this it's kind of in this area here, so it's what the Vedas tell us about the Aryans. So yeah, it tells us this kind of stuff here. So you don't have to do all of that. You can say a little bit of maybe that stuff, maybe a little bit of this stuff.
Just these, you mean these ones? Your
Yeah.
range, friends?
Yeah, that's what they valued, right? That's what they were asking the gods for. So we learn a little bit about their religion, we learn what's important to them, we learn a bit about family, all that stuff.
But it just asks for the religion.
Oh, it's about religion. Okay, sorry. So just the religious part. So what do we learn about religion from Rig Veda? So I think it might be a little bit after that section.
Okay.
Yeah. Mike, what's up?
So for the first one, we just only tell what is like Egyptian writing meaning.
Well, how are these two different, right? So they had a writing system in Egypt, they had a writing system in ancient
Sumer.
Mesopotamia. How are these two systems different?
So we need to compare.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Hey,
So does it make sense?
does it make sense? Okay. The theistic. Okay, I'm good with that.
It's 3?
Yep, I'm good with that.
You
Can-
know, so I know all of them, but I can't write in exam. You know, I know someone. I know that they they are political. They have how many like lots of gods.
Yeah.
But in the exam, I can't write.
Why?
It's
What,
my
what, what,
problem.
what happened? What happened?
I don't know. My brain don't work and I can't.
Your brain doesn't work. Okay. Can talk about that. Hey.
So a question one, so you're asking the difference
Yeah.
between the two types of writing.
How are they different?
So for the Sumerian, they have the one kind, and for the
Yep.
Egyptian, they have 3 kinds.
Good.
Like using in different time in Egyptian, right?
Well,
Not really, but like you can see like some of the Egyptian is so complex.
yeah.
But it's most recognized. Like everyone knows this Egyptian.
Ah,
The second
okay.
one is like it's used for people to write faster and write on paper.
Right.
The
So
last one is like transfer from the north to there, but like
yes, and there's one more thing that kind of distinguishes these two written scripts.
like in how they write. Or,
Uh,
like, they write on paper or
well, yeah, I didn't think that. Well, no, that's not really true. It has to do with what each symbol means.
what its symbols mean.
Yeah. So, like in cuneiform, each symbol is a
It's a sign.
yeah, but in ancient Egyptian, each symbol is
oh,
a
because they are in. Like they can be assigned with a ideogram.
Yeah.
And also it can be determinative.
There you go.
I mentioned it. I didn't mention the difference between it.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
next question?
Yes, of course.
Here in my exam, I write the three type of the Egyptian writing,
Mhm.
neology, and I said the Egyptian come from, and they write in might, and from us, and I say for both of them because it's a like the different all the ideas of writing come from Mesopotamia, and I write the Egyptian use papyrus to write faster.
Okay.
And I wrote all of them about Egyptian and Sumerian. Yes, but I got from
Well, yeah. See,
0.5 out of 3.
Well, this is the thing, is that you're kind of all over, right? And it's hard for me to tell. Like I'm saying, how was one writing system different from
Yeah,
the
I
other?
write it's very magical, and I write they develop and identify the sting of the profession.
Well, what does it say? They develop.
Identify or identity the sign of professional.
They develop in. I don't know what that means. They develop in the sign of the what? I have no idea what you're.
See, individually,
Yeah.
the thing of the professional. I wanted to say that and they, because of the writing, they can have like something like standing in line and singing. In the movie we say that children are standing and singing.
I don't know that we saw that in ancient. Are you talking about ancient Egypt here, or are you talking about something else?
No, it's about ancient Egypt.
Gosh, I don't remember. I don't remember any singing, and I don't know what.
If we like don't see this, what about this one? It's
Well,
not correct.
see, you've got a little bit here, right? Yes, these are three.
Yeah.
These are three parts. But the question I'm asking you is, how are these two things
And
different?
I use the Egyptian develop writing system not much later than Sumerians. It's in our notes.
Okay, so they develop it a little bit later.
Yeah.
Okay. Not one of the main things I was looking for, but okay, I'll give you that.
The Egyptian writing use the might, story, and literary and magical. We have this in our note too.
Yeah.
And I write that they use papyrus.
Mhm.
The paper.
Mhm.
The Sumerians didn't use it. I write this one, but
Okay.
it's not like in a paragraph, but I think I wrote all of them.
Yeah. No, there's still some stuff you're missing on that one, and there.
Not
So
about half or one extra credit for this.
I think I can give you an extra half there, because I will say, okay, the papyrus versus clay that's okay, but I will also say that like you're not answering my question, right? I'm saying, how are these two things different, and you're kind of throwing a bunch of things at me, and then I have to try to figure out if you can tell the difference between these things. Right.
It means that I get half from here.
Yeah, like if I said, what's the difference between an apple and an egg,
Yeah.
right? And you're telling me apples, they're red and they grow on trees, and you're throwing all this stuff at me, but you're not saying how it's different from
And
an egg.
sir, for this question,
Yeah.
I write that at first I introduce the Rig Veda,
Yeah.
and then I say it says about the ingredients
Thank you.
and where they come from
Thank you.
and where they stay. And I said at first they stay in
Okay.
Punjabi, and then they go to like India.
Right.
I just don't write they like they are political, and the Summa. Just do these two.
Okay. Then write it on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not remarking it again. Okay.
Okay. So what about this one?
Yeah, I'll give you a half for that.
Okay.
Give you an extra half.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What's up there, my
This
friend?
question was the question number 3.
Yep.
It was in video.
It was in the video.
We have to rewatch this one.
Well, in theory, you would just check your notes, but if you don't have any notes, then you would go back and either that or look at the transcript, or see if someone else knows it. I don't mind if you ask around. I'm okay with that.
Their mantras and chants were not written, or were they written?
They were what?
There was mantra and chants. Were they written down or not?
They were not. They were not. That was the Story of India video kind of right at the beginning.
But they have
Okay, so Egyptians had 3 types, and they wrote on paper, okay? Okay, whereas...
one, two, three. They only have one, right?
Yeah, so they only had one version, they wrote in the clay. The Egyptians had 3 versions, generally wrote on papyrus, and then there's one more difference. But it's probably one to talk about.
should we explain these three type of writing or no?
No, I don't think you have to go that far.
Okay.
I think the fact that one has three and one has one is, that's a difference, right? Yeah.
Egyptian writing represents something idea or meaning.
As for Sumerian, it's like
Sumerian is just represents
I got
itself.
it.
I don't see it. It's in my movie, but it's kind of difficult to read.
Okay, people. So we've been working on this for quite a while, for about an hour now. So I'm gonna go to a break. So I'll do a 10-minute break. You can keep working if you want. Once the break is done, we're gonna keep going with China, and you'll have to hand this in to me tomorrow if you're not done. Okay? Okay.
Sam, did anyone get it right?
Which one?
The one about the video and Sumerian pantheon.
Yes, I think someone did. I think someone did. Okay, so gonna go to a break, and then in 10 minutes we're gonna start, okay? Okay, people, we're officially back, so pack that stuff away. Again, if you're done, put it right there. If you're not, give it to me first thing tomorrow, okay? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's continue with what we were talking about yesterday, okay? So, yes. Just when Felicia had hoped that we were done with Confucius, in fact, we were not entirely done with Confucius.
We're done.
What's that?
We came to beginning of Chinese.
Yes, yes. But before that, we read a little bit. We read these 5 statements, right? And we kind of tried to explain what Confucius was telling us, right? And a lot of what he was telling us is that, that to be human, to act with empathy and compassion, those things are something that you have to kind of struggle for, right? They're not something that happens very quickly, and it's not something that you can sort of put down for any length of time either, right? You have to continually do it, right? Thank you. We talked a little bit also yesterday about the Tao, right? We've covered the Tao before, but it's this mysterious energy force that sort of holds the universe together. It has kind of its own will, and humans have to live in alignment with it, right? Or at least the Taoists believe that that's what needs to happen, right? So they talked about calming or clearing your mind, right? And kind of ridding yourself of desires. And if you were able to empty your mind of desires, then you would be able to live in alignment with the Tao, right? With the way. And so again, we said there's a little bit of a similarity with Buddhism there, in that the Buddha asked you to rid yourself of attachment as well, right? And so there's kind of a little bit of overlap. But as we also read, the Taoism kind of evolves into a little more of a religion as time goes on, right? So it starts out as a very kind of simple spiritual practice, but eventually it kind of becomes elaborated. There are sort of priests, and there's people that are interested in kind of liberating your energy or liberating your soul. There's people trying to preserve health and life, and maybe even thinking that people can become immortal. So Taoism continues to sort of develop over time, but the core piece of it is that people need to live in alignment with this sort of natural force, right? Yeah. I also asked you to read this section as well, because we read 2 sections yesterday. And we said the Qin dynasty developed when the yeah, so the Warring States period comes to an end. That's the period in which Confucius was living. Various kingdoms were fighting with each other for hundreds of years, really, until one king is able to bring all of ancient China under his control, right? And so this new king, this emperor, I guess, this Qin, one of the things that kind of is, how should we say this? It kind of starts before him, but he continues to use it, is this idea of legalism. And what is legalism? What is legalism? It's a what? I cannot hear you, my dear. Okay, that's all right. It's okay not to be sure, especially it's a tricky question, right? Tricky question. Does anyone else want to take a bit of make an attempt what this legalism thing is about? Yeah, very, very nicely done, right? So the idea here is how can the king or the emperor or whatever you want to call him, how can he maintain the maximum amount of power over his kingdom? And Shanyang, who kind of proposes some of these legalist ideas before, he says that you need a bureaucracy, right? You need a government with workers, you need a system of rules, you need a legal code, and that's what will allow you to maintain control of your kingdom, right? You don't want to be making all the decisions, right? You don't want people to not know what to do. You want rules for everyone to follow, right? And so the government can go about their business collecting taxes and keeping records and punishing people who do things wrong. And they can kind of do all this without any direction from the king, right? Because the rules are all established, right? The king doesn't have to make every one of these decisions, right? And so the kingdom can kind of operate without him making every little decision, right? And so everybody kind of knows what's expected, everybody knows what their job is, and people follow the rules, right? So Shanyang sets out kind of a legal structure for a kingdom, a bureaucracy, a government that can, sort of operate and rule the kingdom, and the emperor can kind of maximize his control that way, right? So we've kind of talked a little bit about this sort of governmental system, the bureaucracy. There was a law code introduced, right? And there was something kind of interesting about this, well, depending on who you are, but interesting about this law code. What was kind of interesting about it? The measures? What do you mean? Oh. Yeah, I'm talking about one of the measures, right? The law code that was introduced. It was kind of interesting in one way. It was about farming?
No, but like the one that they divide each land into five.
Oh yeah, well we'll get to that in a second. But what's kind of interesting about the legal code here? It's kind of strange for the ancient world.
Everyone has to follow it, no matter like which hierarchy they are.
Yeah, it applies to, the law code applies and the punishments apply to everybody equally, right? Which nowadays is something we're very used to, right? Like here in Canada, if I murder somebody and Justin Trudeau murders somebody, we're both going to be held to the same law, right? We're both going to be charged with the same crime. There's no difference because he's the prime minister and I'm just a regular person, right? There's no difference. And we're kind of used to that in the modern world, to laws being applied uniformly. But in the ancient world, that wasn't the way it was, right? Often, the higher up you were in society, the more rich or the more powerful you were, kind of the less punishment you got for the most part. Sometimes you'd have to pay a little bit of a fine or something like that. But if you're a rich person, not a big deal, right? If you were on the bottom of the social hierarchy, you'd probably wind up with harsh punishments, right? You'd be sold into slavery, you'd have part of your body cut off, or you might be killed, you might be beaten or tortured. And so, the punishments were pretty brutal, but again, it depended where you were in the social ladder, right? People higher up just paid a little bit of a fine. People on the bottom sometimes paid with their lives, right? But here, we see a legal code that applies to everyone equally. So it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor or whoever you are. If you break the law, you're going to be punished in a particular way, right? Which is kind of interesting and different for the ancient world. There was also an organization of families, right? Do you want to tell me about that, Felicia, or?
So, he organized like the land into like units of 5 families each, and with each of the family members taking control of that land.
Right. So they organized people into groups of 5 families, and they were kind of responsible to each other, right? And everyone was rewarded together if their harvest was good, or they were punished together if one of them committed a crime or broke the rules, right? Which, again, I think was probably effective. I don't know how fair it is or how much I would enjoy living in such a system, but I suspect it was effective, right? If people think they're going to be punished for their neighbor's behavior, then they will police their neighbor's behavior, right? They'll make sure that their neighbor is not breaking the rules and that they're working hard, right? Because if their neighbor doesn't work hard, they're going to be punished for it, right? So it's a clever method of social control, right? If everyone gets punished for one person's behavior, people will make sure that one person does not break the rules, right? Again, I'm not sure how fair it is, but I bet you it was effective, right? Is there anything else that we need to talk about with Shenyang? You might have to remind me because let's see. So there was his government bureaucracy, there was the law code, there was the organization of the families. Let's see. Anything else?
What about civil service?
Say again?
Civil service and country system.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's the bureaucracy I was talking about, that civil service, right? A group of people whose job it is to, keep track of things and do the work of government, right? And of course, every modern country has that, right? They have a bureaucracy or they have a civil service. If you look out the window to your right, you will see some of Canada's civil service because the Canada Revenue Agency, our tax people, are just in that building right over there. Right? So they're doing the work of government, checking everybody's taxes, hopefully not looking too closely at my taxes. Just kidding, guys. Yeah, but there's a civil service right over there, right, working away. And again, this is something that we have in modern states everywhere, right? We know there's people working for the government all over the place, but pretty interesting to see it here in China thousands of years ago, right? A civil service, a bureaucracy, right? Yeah, so we have that. Uniform application of laws, but also a consistent system of weights and measures, I think, was in there too. That was pretty interesting. But I think that was it for that question. And so, let me just see. Long-lasting effects of Qin Dynasty, what are they? What's that? Right, the administrative foundation,
Yes.
right? So Qin Dynasty sets up a government system that other rulers can use, right? So even after Qin gets thrown out, the new rulers can use this government system to their advantage. So that's helpful. What else? Say again? I still can't hear you. The what? Oh, the legal system? Okay. So the legal system is still in place and they're able to use that. Very handy, right? What else? What was used by them? Oh, okay. So the title the title of emperor gets used by them as well. Yeah, so it is kind of interesting, and I think that's where the weights and measures and currency comes in as well, right? So the Qin Dynasty does a lot to kind of set up, here's a fancy word for you, set up the infrastructure of the state, right? They kind of define how the government works, define how the legal system works, currency, weights, measures. And so even after they get kicked out, a new ruler can come in and all of those things are already working, right? They don't have to figure all those things out. So very, very useful and probably good for the people as well, right? That's probably a very consistent way of living, right? When a new ruler comes in, they don't just make all new systems and rules that you have to figure out. Things are consistent, right? And I think, again, all of our modern countries are mostly like that, right? When you change presidents or when you change prime ministers, you know, not everything in the country is different, right? Everything is pretty much the same, right? The government works the same, the currency is the same, you still work in pounds or kilograms or whatever it is, right? Most things stay the same even though you have a new leader, right? And so here in ancient China, we're seeing a very similar thing, right? They've set up a state structure, and the state structure will continue to work even though there'll be a different person at the top kind of making the big decisions, but there's consistency, right? Okay, I guess we could also say that Qin Dynasty rulers built a pretty significant set of roads, right? Textbook mentions about 6,800 kilometers of roads. What do you think those roads are helpful for? Yeah, and who might benefit from access to other regions?
Those people who want to buy, sell their goods.
Yeah. Yeah, people who are traders, right? People who are merchants, right? Those roads are great because you can move your goods all over the countryside very easily, right? And the more easy you can move your stuff, the more money you can make, right? So roads are an important part of empire building, and here Qin does it, right? Well, as we'll see a little bit later, the Romans are going to be really good at that as well. The Romans will build roads all through their empire, and it'll be a huge benefit to people living there because they'll be able to travel and to trade, right? To buy and sell. And here in ancient China, same thing. Okay. How are we? Are we all right?
Yes.
Good. Now, what I wanted to show you now is a short documentary. We'll watch a little bit today and a little bit tomorrow. And it's a little bit different from some of the other documentaries because this one actually tries to get everything right in terms of how ancient China would have looked. Okay? So, like, the documentary of Confucius, it was kind of set in modern times, right? Even though our host, Bethany Hughes, I think, Bethany Hughes was talking to us about ancient China. She was kind of walking around modern China, right? And meeting with modern Chinese people. But this one actually tries to get things right. So they tried to make it look as close as they could to how things would have looked in ancient China when the first emperor of Qin takes the throne. Okay? What's also very interesting, what's also very interesting is that, sorry, I gotta jump ahead a few. It's also where did I put it? I didn't put it anywhere. It's also a joint a joint effort between Chinese government and the Canadian government. So the two governments kind of teamed up to make this film. And so again, it sort of shows us a little bit about the last stages of the Warring States period, where the first emperor of Qin kind of gets rid of any of his challengers and establishes himself as the sole ruler. Okay, so I'll show you this, and this is what I want you to pay attention to here. Not so much questions, but aspects of kind of culture and people's lives that we'll see in the film. Okay, so subsistence practices. How do we see people getting their food in this film? Okay, Governance, authority, and law. So where do we see evidence of the government or the law kind of showing up in this film? Okay. People's homes. What do they look like? How are people living in this period? What kind of technology do we see? Okay. And keep in mind, technology can be just about anything, right? Any object that humans use for a purpose is technology, right? So we're used to thinking of, like, you know, computers and phones as technology, but technology, right? Technology, right? More clothing, but anything humans use for a purpose is technology in this context, okay? Spiritual or religious beliefs. What kind of evidence do we see of those things? And then cultural expressions. Do we see any music? Do we see any dance? Do we see any artwork? Do we hear any stories? Okay? So, let me just put this into Microsoft Teams here. Where is it? So, actually, I'm gonna put into the live chat of YouTube here. There we go. So, we'll watch 15 minutes of it just to kind of get a feeling for it. Again, try to pay attention to these things: subsistence, government, people's homes, technology, spiritual religious beliefs, or cultural expressions, okay? So online people, you'll see the link in the live chat there. We'll watch 15 minutes and then that's really all our time we'll have. But we'll see what it looks like, okay? So online people, will see you in just a little bit. You bet. Thanks, Aryan. Yes, so I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll keep going on this and we'll talk about what we've seen, okay? So, yes, so see you tomorrow, online people. Have a good afternoon.